what does the sale process looks like? So when you go to sell a house, what is that process going to do? What should you expect? There's a lot of different things that people will tell you. What I found out, to break it down to the simplest forms, is I do this. I share it with every single one of my sellers, so that way they're aware. The first thing we do is we do market research, and we position your home as the number one choice in terms of price and marketing. This is great, and the reason is because the price and marketing is going to bring in people. The more people you have, the more competition you're going to have, and that's what's going to happen. And what happens there is that as they compete with each other, the prices go up. Supply and demand. There's only one home, but there's multiple buyers. Who's going to offer the highest? So that's the first thing. We want to make sure that we bring in as many people as we can within a reasonable price range, and then you supercharge it with YouTube, Google ads, Facebook ads. I mean, you name it. You put it on Instagram, Nextdoor, you put it on the MLS, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, everything, so you can get people in there. Now, after we find this out, how are we going to do the showings? What disclosures do we need to show? This is the part that we're going to prepare the home. Are there any repairs that are going to make the house seem habitable? So we want to sell to what's called a retail buyer. This is a person who's going to be moving in there and living in there. Those are the people who are going to pay the most. An investor will come in, get it at a lower price, because there's the potential later to sell it to a real retail buyer. If you're going to target an investor, they're going to sell it. They need to make a profit, so they're going to buy it for less. A retail buyer will buy it for more because that's their end product. And preparing for it, sometimes there's some big things, but mostly like 90% of the time, we fix cosmetic things, clear paint, have some mirrors, make sure the floors are clean, the landscaping's nice, and we disclose everything else. Okay, the roof's a little bit old. We have a leak over here in this pool, things like that. So that way we know upfront, and if we have competition, they don't try to bring us down during the inspection period. We say, hey, this is the home, we're selling it as is. It has these issues, and we have a lot of competition. So go ahead and make your best offer, including that. It helps the sellers a lot later because there's less negotiations. So then we go ahead and we start showing it. After everything's prepared, you do the work, we start showing it, we negotiate the offers. Okay, thanks for coming in. All right, submit your highest and best. We have multiple offers. Can you offer the sellers to stay time in the property post occupancy, so that way they'll be able to secure a second house or just have a little bit more of an easier transition. So we look at all that, the closing date, how much money they're going to put down. That's the part of the negotiation. Now, great, we execute a contract. We say, okay, we're going to send, congratulations, we selected your offer. The seller sign it. We're going to send it to the title company. So they start the process of everything. And the buyers need to submit earnest money. Earnest money is money that you're putting aside. So they remove it off the market. They're not selling to someone else. And it's typically about 2%. And that is skin in the game. If you don't perform your part as buyers, then we keep, the sellers keep the money that's in escrow there. It's very important to follow timelines. Time is of the essence on these contracts. So if you try to cancel after the inspection period for an inspection issue, you're going to lose the earnest money deposit. If you're going to cancel after the appraisal period or the finance contingency, you're going to lose that deposit. So make sure that you're aware of that. So typically, as soon as you sign, the inspection period goes into effect. 7 days, 10 days, 5 days is what I've seen very normal for an inspection period. And the best thing, what I said here, is in the beginning, when we are preparing the home and positioning the home, we disclose everything that we can. So that way they don't try to knock us down on everything and just on the items that weren't open and obvious. So they do the inspection period. At that point, we can negotiate. They can choose to cancel. There's a lot of things that happen. Then if there is going to be a loan, the bank's going to send an appraisal. So this appraiser is going to look at the home, see the comparables, and justify the price. The reason is the bank does not want to lose money. If the bank is going to lend out $1 million, they want to make sure that the home is worth $1 million or more. If the home is worth $200,000 and they're going to lend out $1 million, and the owners, the buyers don't pay anything, the bank's out all that money. So that's where the risk is, and that's the justification process of the appraisal. And that happens before we close on the home. Then comes the loan commitment, the loan approval. So the loan officer is going to be asking the buyers for bank statements, social security cards, proof of income, and make sure if you are the buyer, don't move your money around a lot. The more you move it, the more issues you're going to come across. Borrowing money, they want to see what your debt is, all that they need to take into account so they can create a risk profile for you. And then once everything's good and they give you that loan commitment saying, hey, we're good to close, we choose a closing date. And that closing date is usually, it's chosen before, but if it needs to be moved, we can. And that can be in person. Typically, you sign the documents in person. If you can, do it before 2 o'clock, because if not, the money takes a long time to get wired and it can be pushed to the next business day. So if you're closing on a Friday, it could be till next week. It's become certain issues on certain closings in the past. So I always try to schedule my closings first thing in the morning. It's the best thing. You sign as soon as you can. In person, they can send a courier. Even if you're out of town, you can do a remote closing. They will need witnesses and stuff, but there's a lot of different options. So this is a good roadmap and good way to set expectations with sellers to understand what's going to happen and what's the best process for you, so you can predict, see what's going to happen. And even if you don't hear from a real estate agent for a while, you know what's next. So this is why I created this. A lot of sellers love seeing this because it really adds stability to the home sale process. All right, until next time.